Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am Reverend Stephen Moore, the pastor here at First Christian Church of Falls Church. On this rainy day, it is my privilege to welcome the Honorable Senator Mark Warner here today. It's also an honor to welcome those of you at this table, our members of our audience today. I want to extend a special thank you to Jacqueline Marmol from Senator Warner's office and Kathy Majestic from Wesley Housing for making the arrangements for the discussion today. I have a little more intro to do, but I think all of us are very mindful of the tragedy which occurred on Wednesday night and the loss of such precious lives. I was told that there were many students, multiple students in our own Fairfax County school system who perished in the crash. Senator, I want to thank you for your leadership and support of the families of the victims. And if I could, I'd like to offer a moment of prayer, if we can. God of us all, like the rain falling outside, we are mindful of the tears that are being shed after the aircraft collision on Wednesday. We give thanks for the first responders and all who continue to work at the scene. We pray for the families of the victims who lost their children, their parent, their partner, or spouse, their friends, and coworkers. Bring comfort to those who grieve. We pray for our country as we mourn the losses and are reminded of the rich tapestry that you've woven together of your people in this nation. In times like these, we realize how short life really is. So may we seek to be your people, using our commonalities to work together for hope, healing, comfort, and loving our neighbors just as you love us. We pray in the name of you, Creator God. Amen. Amen. Nearly 7 years ago, our congregation partnered with Wesley Housing Development to develop approximately 3 acres of our land for 95 affordable housing homes for older adults. Today we come to celebrate the receipt of a $7.9 million grant from the Housing and Urban Development 202 program. This program is designed to increase affordable housing and supportive services, specifically for older adults and those living with disabilities. As part of the celebration, Senator Warner has brought these community leaders together today to discuss the need for affordable housing in our area, in our state, and in our nation. To facilitate our discussion today, I'd like to introduce Jill Norcross. Jill is the Executive Director. I always learned it as NAHAHA or something. But it's the Northern Virginia Affordable Housing Alliance, NAHAHA. Jill, you have and bring over 20 years of experience in fostering successful partnerships with diverse stakeholders around affordable housing planning and development. Senator, again, thank you for being here today, and thank you, Jill, for agreeing to moderate and facilitate the discussion.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you so much, Pastor Steve and members of First Christian Church and Colmore Clinic. It's really a true honor to be here surrounded by friends, colleagues, elected leaders to celebrate real solutions, intentional partnerships, and collective action being taken right here in this community to address our affordable housing crisis. All of us around this table and in this room have worked so hard to bring additional resources, engage new partners, and expedite processes to bring more affordable homes to those who desperately need it in Fairfax County and around the state. We know there's lots of room for improvement, but I do want to acknowledge Wesley Housing's recent award of the $8 million in HUD 202 funding for Kindred Crossing.
Hold it, did it just go from 7.9 to 8?
Executive order.
We should only be so.
That's great. Yeah, I'm optimistic. I round up. Anyway, it is important grant funding that we know, federal grant support that we have, and I it's really important to make the space and the time to celebrate successes along this way, because we know it is a long and patient journey to get this work done. So I want to personally thank you, Senator Warner, and your amazing team and staff for having this important roundtable discussion and elevating this issue around the Commonwealth. I know you've been doing that, so thank you. So with that, I'd love to turn it over to you for some opening remarks as well.
Well, thank you, Jill. And, I like your thinking. So to Pastor Steve coming in, you know, if the parking lot is this crowded on Friday, I gotta imagine Sunday. He said, I wish.
We're kind of helping with that.
Prayers across everyone, I know.
No, so we got so full there that Pastor Steve opened their extra space for us. So we actually have prayers here on Friday in addition to there. So thank you, Pastor Steve. And First Christian Church.
Again, we should all be so lucky. The amazing thing is that this is day 12 of this new administration. And echoing what Steve said, the tragedy Wednesday night, I was actually driving by the airport, probably Annie and I were like 5 minutes after the crash or something. We didn't know, but we just saw, I'd never seen this many red lights rushing to the airport. And, you know, I was at the airport yesterday morning at 7 a.m. Didn't realize they were having a press conference at 6:45. Manny's ringing my doorbell. It's not on topic, but I have to say, like, you know, I had basically sweatpants and a nasty shirt, but I put my Virginia State police jacket on after being governor, and I looked so good. And obviously, the tragedy, we all know, and want to thank Fairfax County, because you got all these jurisdictions and 3 different states and the feds and everything else. A tragedy like that happens, and all the first responders that come from it, they came from as far away as Baltimore. And, you know, saw the images of those icy waters. I was deeply, deeply offended by Donald Trump yesterday. That in a moment, and this morning on TV, they had a juxtaposition of Ronald Reagan commenting on the Challenger disaster and snipping with Trump. To take this tragedy, and he couldn't even get 2 minutes in of, you know, compassion before, with no justification at all, no evidence, no nothing other than just kind of slashing out. I mean, our country's better than this, and and I would just say, I know, you know, American people made the choice, but when good people stay silent, and that's something I think we are going to have to wrestle with. I just came from this has been long scheduled before all the EOs out, and all of our minority business associations across the region, you know. And I don't care what you call it. You don't want to use the terms DEI, you call it whatever you care. Call it what's good for Fairfax County and Virginia. Because if you don't have everybody getting a fair shot, I know Virginia's getting close to 40% votes of color across all races and nationalities, and Fairfax probably in that category, right?
Majority minority.
Majority minority. You know, and so 8A programs, other things all kind of be in question. And maybe we move from fairness and just talk about business, because this, you cut out those businesses, it's gonna cost more. One of the reasons I was late, I was on with the Secretary of State, who you know, I've worked with closely and supported. And I don't think he was a part of this. So I think a lot of these things coming out, frankly, are happening not by, I'm not even sure people in the White House know. But the freeze on all of the aid money around the world, I think it's now kind of been released. But you know, I was told earlier in the week, I've gotten very involved in and I apologize, I am gonna get back to the topic. I'm in a
It's all
church
important,
service,
it's
I'm
all important.
multi-faith, with our Muslim friends here, I just have to vent for a couple minutes, is that, you know, but I've gotten very engaged in the awful conflict in Sudan, where more people die every day than Gaza and Ukraine combined. We got American taxpayer medicine sitting on a ship. That if you shut down these operations, people are gonna die, and the money's gonna, the money's gonna go to, or the medicine will spoil. And, you know, that brings us to the housing issue, and, again, my head is still reeling. You haven't gotten the check yet.
True.
And to kind of arbitrarily say, and some of the people I do know in the White House, a very senior guy told me, he had no idea this order was being put out.
Oh.
It's frozen, it was, you know, it was out to freeze everything. Then, today's Friday, right? What was it, by Wednesday, they said, no, we're rescinding it, and then the White House press secretary said, no, it's not rescinded. We've got a court order until Monday to continue things, but I don't believe that any funds are actually flowing. And, you know, I'd love to say, I know exactly what's gonna happen. I don't. I do know that I heard from a lot of our Head Start organizations, and, you know, just the normal rotation on funding. You know, Head Start grants expire, and then you reapply, and a little town called West Point, Virginia, you know, got a great Head Start program. To the luck of the draw, their Head Start funding expires today. You know, and they thought, you know, 2 weeks ago, even with Trump in, they thought, well, you know, they've been said, don't worry, it's coming. They don't have the money, so, you know, you're gonna have a lot of families on Monday morning, and I'm afraid, you know, this is gonna be repeated time and again. The whole notional idea that 90 days, that organizations that are nonprofits, you know, are somehow gonna be able to get the money. It's people's lives. This is not tech world. This is people's lives. You know, and on top of that, you know, I appeal to any federal worker, think twice. This man has stiffed people throughout his whole career. We don't think this buyout is legal. There is no money in the budget. Matter of fact, our federal funding runs out in early March. You really think, with some of those folks I work with in Congress, they're gonna say, oh, fine, we're gonna give people 6 months severance not to work? And I so fear if you press that, send back, yes, even if it doesn't happen, you now got, you're marked. But who are you gonna fire first? And we go back to the tragedy on Wednesday night. Yes, we are short air traffic controllers. We have about 11,000 air traffic controllers in the whole country. If 2,000 or 3,000 were to take the offer, it's too much hassle, I'm done. Takes 18 months to refill those places. Air traffic in this country would shut down. So when we see a little grace, we've got to take, I am, you know, hugely interested. I mean, I would say that if you go back to COVID, we put out $5 trillion under Trump and Biden. We did squat on housing. And we know now that so many communities, including Fairfax, you know, rents make up more than 30% of your income. We gotta do more. And I candidly think we need a lot of new ideas in housing. I am for, you know, I'm a sponsor of making sure LIHTC, the low-income housing tax credit, actually gets expanded. I'm a fan of what's called I think we're calling it this cycle, the neighborhood assistance tax credit, which is infill in a county like Fairfax, where, you know, you're no longer the cutting burb, you're kind of a mature community's ability to infill, because it's a lot cheaper if we rehab that house, because you got all the community services there rather than building on. I got a program to try to for first-generation, first-time home buyers, which are disproportionately people of color, that, you know, if you qualify for a 30-year mortgage, we give you a 20-year mortgage, you double your equity, deal with racial wealth gap. I've got a plan to kind of give employers, you know, the ability on a tax-free basis to give up to 25, 30 grand, forgivable loan to help, you know, work here, live here kind of things. But we gotta have partners in all this, and, you know, at the end of the day, this is a housing supply issue. You know, I feel like sometimes we focus, and particularly Democrats, are focused on the demand side, not the supply side. So, and I think we also, and this is where I should probably save this with 3 members of the county board in front of me. Jeff I've known since he was 12.
Fair.
Fair. But there is some things where we need to think, and I've got a comment on a program I've gotten really excited about, and I would, you guys have probably looked, but I urge you to kick the tires on it. Henrico County has taken, I think, a pretty cool initiative where they're taking something obviously controversial, you know, data centers, and they are saying for 5 years now, again, you've already got your data center quota, if not, I'm not gonna touch that one either. Although what's quickly weighing in on, I don't think we should be building casinos until we have community input.
I have a strong opinion about it. Trust me, we're in exactly the same place.
But I kind of avoided, I was on co-joint.
You did a good
I kept
job.
trying to punt out as like, you know, if I was
Good job
good, I
with
have to
it.
tell you. But Henrico, they are getting $60 million a year for Housing Trust Fund, and they have a kind of a unique land bank proposal and Housing Trust Fund that is somewhat unique to kind of Greater Richmond. I gotta get all the details right. But where they are buying the underlying property, which takes down the price of the house about 25%. And you'll probably value,
Tom does it all the time.
with a $60 million a year fund, that's a lot of funding. And then what they have said, and this is where I'm gonna get over my skis, they're actually waiving sewer connect fees and all permitting fees,
Yes.
which adds for another 25 grand, and they've agreed they do the whole permitting process in less than 9 days. Now, we'll see if that happens. I know, I would say this and then I'll hush and be more polite. I think those of us on the table, and it's not a partisan event, who are Democrats, we gotta recognize we have too much of a regulatory state, and there's gotta be ways to streamline this without sacrificing, safety, the environment. Other nations have done this, and on our good intentions, we are gonna get skewered. And I would love to work with everybody, and candidly, and maybe from the feds, what we can do is give some incentive, more CDBG or more, you know, something so it's not a mandate. You know, I know, that's not the way to do it, but.
Unfunded mandates.
No, this should be a funded carrot. So I am anxious to hear more about what Wesley Housing is doing, but all of the initiatives in the county. We've been together, Joe, on a number of these. You know, housing, long-term care, child care are the 3 things I hear the most, and I'm sure you guys do as well. So I took way too much time on my opening comments, so I will cede back all of my time and listen.
No, it's really so important to have that opportunity here for you, so thank you for your comments, and I think you have so many here that agree with everything that you said, so really appreciate that. I do want to make time for other elected officials to have a few minutes to kind of share their thoughts too, and so I want to turn it over to Chairman McKay, and want to personally thank you for your leadership and support. I know we go to a lot of community grand openings and groundbreakings, and we're, you know, celebrating that 10,000 unit goal that we have for 2034 here in the county. So Chairman McKay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jill. And before we talk about housing, real briefly, first I want to thank the Reverend for putting us in the cry room. It's been a long time since I've been in the cry room at church. It's been a long time, but it seems appropriate, and we need good laughs right now. On a serious level, I want to thank the Senator for his leadership on the accident, because not only did Fairfax County respond in massive numbers, this is going to be with our community for a long time. When I walked in here, on my way in here, I got notification that one of the military officials on the Black Hawk helicopter is the parent of a classmate of my daughter's. And so we're going to learn these things over time. And you know, these kids are in tears over this, and so we will be in Fairfax County recovering for this for a long time. Our first responders, let's not forget the trauma and the mental health challenges they are facing, because this is gonna be with them for the rest of their careers as well. And lastly, we with Fairfax One is the only municipality in Northern Virginia that runs a helicopter unit for public safety. And so I'm gonna be meeting later today with the folks who run that operation, because obviously this is profound effect on them, and they're running emergency calls, not just for Fairfax County, but VSP and Fairfax share the state. We're running emergency calls everywhere north and east of Fredericksburg into the DMV area, medevac calls and other emergency responses. So this is really close and personal to a lot of people in Fairfax County, and so I appreciate your leadership on that. On the housing front, I just want to make a few comments, and I'm really glad Supervisor Jimenez and Palchek are here too, because we have been working so hard, as everyone in this room knows, on this affordable housing issue. But the one thing that is so profoundly important is that, and I'm just going to pull the Band-Aid right off, and it's similar to what our senator was saying about what I consider to be willpower to do affordable housing. There's hoops you got to jump through, regulatory things that we can always improve upon. But one thing we're doing really well in this county right now is having the political willpower to say affordable housing belongs in every single corner of this county. Because for too long, politicians and other people, NIMBYs, have allowed affordable housing to be built in small pockets, concentrations in the county, which doesn't help anybody. And I say this as someone who grew up on the Route 1 corridor that has seen this challenge firsthand. We need affordable housing in the places we're building in the county right now, near transit stations, near good jobs, near opportunities, near green space, in healthy communities, because regardless of your income, you have a right not just to housing, but housing in parts of the county where it belongs. And under my watch, it belongs in every corner of the county, and we have fought some real battles in some communities that for too long have walled themselves off demographically. So that is one thing we need to continue to stay focused on. The second thing is just being flexible. Wesley Housing and so many of the other housing for-profit and not-for-profit and faith-based groups that we work with are why we are way ahead of our schedule that we had for 2034. Initially it was 5,000 units. We've reset the goal to 10,000. We're already halfway there because of the partnerships we have with these organizations. My county dollar is a piece of the puzzle. The federal funding, absolutely. The entrepreneurship of the private sector, the passion of the not-for-profit community is what makes so many of these opportunities happen. And lastly, we are right now, I just drove by it this morning, well under construction on a massive affordable housing development in the parking lot of the Fairfax County Government Center. The seat of our county government. Before you come to do business in our county building, we want you to come through a first-rate affordable housing community that's environmentally sensitive, smart, replacing asphalt with opportunities for people, has a child care center embedded in it so that we can address the totality of people's needs who are on affordable housing and really lift them out. Because we can put a roof over their head, but let's put the services in place that support them that they need to be successful as well. And so this was an opportunity where we as local government took our land, took the land cost out of the transaction and allowed this to pencil out. And so the
Can you send me stuff on that?
I would be glad to.
That sounds great.
And the $50 million a year that we put in, just as Fairfax County, into the fund that allows these things to happen on an annual basis is a major return on our investment. The EDA in the county says there's over 100,000 vacant jobs in Northern Virginia today. 100,000 vacant jobs. Number one reason they cite why they can't fill these jobs is because people can't afford to live here. So it's a moral imperative for most of us in the room, but we also have got to be talking about it as an economic imperative. And so I'm grateful so many people here have assembled. I know the passion is there. We've just got to make sure we keep up these opportunities and advertise them and share them with other jurisdictions. So thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Chairman McKay. I really appreciate that. I also want to turn now to Mason District Supervisor Andres Jimenez. Thank you so much for having us in your district. And
Yeah,
wanna-
thank you,
Yes.
Jill. Yeah, and good morning, or I guess good afternoon at this point, Jill. I've got some comments I'm gonna read, but before I get started, there's two quick things I wanted to say. One is, we've mentioned the tragedy that's happened and those involved, those from Fairfax County, but I also wanna be mindful that we lost 4 of our brothers and sisters from the Steam Theaters Local 602. So I just want to make sure that those folks are on our minds as we move through the day. This is like home. It's like being back home. I was on the Colmore Clinic board for many years, and we would meet here in this room once a month, and working with Philip and Lene, and trying to advance the projects and making sure that the Colmore Clinic was set up for success under their watch. And here we are. This is great. This is exactly where we wanted to be. We wanted to make sure that we're advancing this project, making sure that we are giving the residents of Mason District and those around the county affordable housing. One thing I learned recently is that Mason District has the most seniors and residents with disabilities. And so when we look at projects like this, it really makes sense to have this project here in our backyard here in Mason District. All right, so I'm gonna get to some comments. I'm gonna try to stick to 2 minutes and we'll see how that goes. So good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here today with so many dedicated leaders working to solve our community's most pressing challenges, ensuring that every resident has access to safe, stable, and affordable housing. A special thank you to Senator Warner for his continued leadership on housing policy, and to our Chairman McKay, Supervisor Palchek, and everyone else who has brought us around this room, and my good friend, Pastor Steve. It's great to see you, my friend.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Mason District is one of the most diverse communities in Fairfax County, home to people from all over the world. It is a cultural hub. I like to say we are the cultural hub here in Fairfax County, and I've been trying to make sure that we all understand the importance of what that means. We pride ourselves, and one of the initiatives that Chairman McKay started was One Fairfax, and we try to live that every day here, especially in Mason District. We have families from all over the world with different backgrounds who contribute to the vibrancy of our neighborhoods. But that same diversity means we have a wide range of housing needs. From working families struggling with rising rents to seniors looking for affordable options to age in place. Ensuring that everyone, regardless of income, has access to stable housing is critical to maintaining the strength and inclusivity that the Mason District is unique. Fairfax County's commitment to affordable housing, led by Chairman McKay, is looking at 10,000 unit goal by 2034. We're at 34% completion with a strong development pipeline. So I think that that's something to think about. We are moving on this under the leadership of Chairman McKay, working with Supervisor Palchek and our colleagues to make sure that we reach these goals, leveraging public financing, county-owned land, and partnerships with private developers to create mixed income housing. Recent request for proposal is issued for the East County property redevelopment here in Columbia Pike Falls Church, expected to bring 160 rental units for low to moderate income households. Kindred Crossings development is at 95 independent living homes for seniors 62 and above, serving 30 to 60% area medium income, AMI. 9.7 million investment by Fairfax County in this project, and 4,600 square feet for commercial space which will house Colmore Clinic, continuing its mission to provide healthcare access for uninsured residents. And I've got to tell you, being right here next to Colmore, when uninsured folks need help, they turn to the Colmore Clinic, because the Colmore Clinic has its doors wide open for that specific population. It is so important for young people, seniors, everyone to be able to look at organizations like the Colmore Clinic and call that a place of safety. So that is extremely important. But there are challenges and opportunities. We need more federal investment. While Fairfax County has prioritized affordable housing, we need strong federal support through programs such as the low-income housing tax credit Senator Warner mentioned, HUD Section 202 for senior housing, flexible loan and grant programs for faith-based and non-profit partnerships, and we need to address housing and healthcare together. Chairman McKay and Senator Warner were talking about earlier partnerships and the importance of partnerships. That's how we're going to get things done, especially here in Mason District. It's partnering with our faith-based needs-based groups, which is so critically important. It's looking at the community and finding ways to address the issues here in Fairfax County with also the help of our federal friends and partners. Kindred Crossing is a transformational project, one that can serve as a model across Fairfax County and beyond. Today's conversation is just the beginning. We must continue to prioritize housing as a fundamental right and ensure our most vulnerable residents have the stability they deserve. I look forward to working with each of you as we continue this essential mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Jimenez, I appreciate it. And last but not least, I'd like to welcome Supervisor Dahlia-Palchek. Thank you so much, Chair of the Housing Committee here in Fairfax County, and just want to offer you a few minutes to give your remarks.
Thank you. And I'll try to be super brief because I know we want to hear from our members.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Jill. Thank you so much, Senator. I'm lucky enough to get to see you twice today. We started the morning with our small business community. We're all chambers of, I think we have the Asian American Chamber, the Hispanic Chamber, the Black American Chamber, and there was probably one fourth one I'm missing. There were four.
Yes.
Anyway.
And a fourth.
We're at one of my favorite spots in Tyson's in Providence District. And I recently participated, maybe last year, at the childcare roundtable you held down closer to the Route 1 area of the county, because I also chair Health and Human Services, and now here. And to me, all of these are both professionally, but also personally really important. I love that we're here with our faith communities. And a little known fact is that I'm sitting 2 seats away from Judith, who, thanks to her mom and her family growing up here at our synagogue, my family that moved here in poverty and learning English, my life would have been very different without Judith and her mom and her family. From being able to attend summer camps, to driving us around, because my mom wouldn't drive, to getting us everywhere. It really truly takes a village. And I know that those of us who belong to communities of faith know that it is so important. And clearly helps raise caring individuals who then work for the county and for our most beloved nonprofits and ensure that we address the needs of our community. As was shared, actually before that, a fact, because you brought this up a little bit, is I moved here in 1990, and recently I looked up what our county looked like in 1990, and our staff shared it as well in our report. Our county was 81% white. We are now about 47% white and a majority minority. We also only had about 15% of our community aged over 55.
Over 55.
55 years old was only 15% of our community in 1990. And now it is about a quarter of our community. So those of us, I know Chairman McKay and I are in what I call the panini press generation, not just a sandwich. I've got the 3-year-old and aging parents who, especially as immigrants, whether it's the means or the cultural ability or even the transportation piece, supporting my mom to be a caretaker, right? We know that so much goes into just letting our families live. And then, as you know, that impacts